And so now he's scared and maybe feeling a little guilty for cheating his brother out of the blessing that he was supposed to have. On top of all this, he ends up wrestling, not just for 5 or 10 minutes, but all night long with a man. So it doesn't say who the man is, but now he says he thinks it might be God, and so he demands that this man give him a blessing. And so the man wisely says, and so Jacob wisely says, I will not go unless you bless me. And so, wait a minute, he already had one blessing, so he wants another blessing? But the man who wrestles with him says, tell me your name. And Jacob hems and haws, and he goes, my name is Deceiver, Grabber, Jacob. And he goes, you're right, but no longer. And he confesses, finally, who he is. And that's the turning point of the story, the gem of the story. And the man says, you will no longer be called Jacob, Deceiver, Grabber. You will be called Israel, Father of the nations. What a change. God has allowed him to change his whole being and everything about him so that he becomes a changed man. Not is he only changed on the inside, but now he has a limp on the outside, and no one will he will never forget what happened to him in this experience because of what the man did when they wrestled all night. I don't think God is done changing us today. Our destiny is not wrapped up in old hurts and wounds and patterns. We can change our name. We can change our inside. We can change how we think and who we are. And I saw this happen at National Youth Conference. It was really amazing. I taught a workshop called Be the Change for Peace That You Want to See. So a young man named Aiden, not this one, but another young man named Aiden, came to the workshop, and he had finished homeschooling at age 16. His plan was he was working full-time, and he was going to go back home to Virginia and work as a construction worker and marry his girlfriend. Well, afterwards, he was really engaged in the workshop, and afterwards he came to me and he said, I thought I was going to go back home and marry my girlfriend and work full-time, but now I really know that I want to work with kids. And what was that organization that you mentioned in the workshop that you told us about? I'm going, oh gosh, what organization did I mention? Oh, and then I go, oh, Children's Disaster Services? He goes, yeah, that's it. And he goes, I want to know more about that. And the person sitting with me said, you know, there's a workshop being presented by the very director of that Children's Disaster Workshop tomorrow. And so he went and he connected with her, he got her contact information, and they'll be in correspondence about the change that he wants to make in his life. Children's Disaster Workshop, and there's also a home rebuilding workshop. They go to where there are disasters and where the Red Cross goes, and they set up the child care for all the parents where they don't have to worry. We have people in our congregation who have gone through that training and done that. Bitsy, who else? Pat, Vicky, right. And so this is change that this young man wants to make with his life. So I asked the youth at the conference, what do you see in the world that needs changing? And they said, how much time do you have? And some of their answers went like this. We need to change school violence and not need to have metal detectors that go off anytime you're wearing shoes with metal or a necklace that has metal in it. We need to change and have more critical thinking because of AI who can do our homework for us. We can be the change and mentor others despite the family influences that person might be living with. We We need to model our truth. We need to join with others to strengthen our voice so that we're not just one person out there all alone trying to be the change we want to see. We need to counteract ICE from taking and detaining people. And we need to know about conscientious objection and the automatic draft that's starting for 18 to 25-year-olds in December of this year. And then one young man said, "There are no outsiders in our church." I texted the general secretary and I said, "This is what one of our youth said in a workshop." So I put my cell phone number here. If you're a young person or young adult and you think I missed some of the things that need to be changed, you can text me and we'll have your input of what needs to be changed that you see that's not okay with how the world is leaving for you. There was also a speaker at National Youth Conference by the name of Jeff Cease, who worked at a Pennsylvania juvenile facility in the deep, dark woods of Pennsylvania for boys under 18 who were in trouble for vandalism, theft, drugs, all kinds of low-level crimes. And so their job was to help them find another way of living. So he then confessed, like Jacob, he used to be one of those boys when he was growing up. And his dad would drink away all the wages of the family, and then he would try to come home and beat up his wife and kids. Well, his dad was a deceiver, and one time he came home and he unscrewed the light in the porch light, so that Jeff's brother wouldn't know who was at the door. And so he let his dad in, and the dad then kidnapped Jeff and his little sister for a while, and they were kidnapped and no one knew where they were. Well, that changed him, and he became a bad kid, just like the kids that he's working with now. But he also had a God who would not give up on him, and he found a church that changed him into someone who wanted to work with kids who were just like him. And he said, God can change us. That's the message for all of us. God can change us. And God can change churches. At district conference, we heard the story of our sister church in Arvada who had to make a decision whether they were going to close down or if they decided to stay and to continue to be a church in Arvada. Well, they had a dwindling budget, they had no pastor, they had dwindling attendance, they had not very many resources except a building, but a new pastor team found them, Dwight and Rebecca Skull, and helped them change. And he brought an exercise that we used at our board retreat. What is God's dream for us? And so we have the idea, choose one ministry focus, just one, then choose one action item that might help grow that ministry focus. Then define success before you begin. And then plan this first step, and then build in follow-up so you can reach people after you have connected with them. And learn and try again. So here are some of the ideas from the board retreat. I'll hand this microphone around, of the ideas that we came up with. They're going to share what we had groups of 2 come up with ideas for what God's dream is for us. Pat, you want to start? Come on up if you're in the board and you can share. Come on up so we don't have a long pause. You were board. Come on up, board members.
Come on up, board members, if you can. I was with Rochelle, and we talked at length about the dismay of the upcoming draft, and we talked a lot about conscientious objection. And we talked about maybe going into the Arapahoe Community College with a table, and possibly if we could get into the high schools. And we found that there are a lot of resources available through Church of the Brethren. And did you want to say anything else?
Just that we thought it would be really important to educate and outreach youth, people that would be affected by having to register for the draft.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls, right? Because this could be a thing that happens. And so educating them around what are their rights, what is conscientious objection, which has a long history in the Church of the Brethren, and knowing alternative things that they could do and how they could keep themselves safe from having to be involved in war. So, yes.
Okay.
Your turn.
I'm glad you have good memories of your part. Bring my notes. I didn't take my Prevagen this morning. Yeah. It's made from jellyfish. Bitsy and I spoke about the issue of being more welcoming. We know we're a welcoming church, but maybe we need to be more deliberate about it. So some of what we talked about was it's important to have identified people who would be especially good at welcoming, and especially really perceptive people who can understand what's the best way to reach somebody who's here as a visitor, who's come here to be with us, to know how they would want to be welcomed. Because you might have someone who's introverted, for example, who you're a little bit you're not as forward with them. Good to bring them along, and we identified in particular Joan and Pat and Howard, and who am I forgetting?
Outgoing people.
Yeah, outgoing people.
Perceptive people.
To be the people who welcome people who come here, and a few of the things that we thought would be ways to do that. One would be to have for all of us to use our name tags so they know who we are, and to have name tags for them, not the permanent ones at first. Don't want to push them too fast, but have the name tags that you stick on, just for that day, so that we can know their names, because we're all so good at remembering names when somebody identifies themselves, right?
With Prevagen.
With Prevagen it works, but yeah, otherwise not. And also swag like the cups, for the new folks, things like that, and doing follow up. And we thought that, of course, the way that you measure success is do they come back 3-4 times, and build on that.
So if you hear something that excites you, you have these slips and a pen, and you can put an authoring plate. Maybe I'm interested in being a greeter, or maybe, and there's some more that we have a couple more groups. We have the idea of an arts and crafts fair, along with our Fair Trade Fair, which is now called the Prince of Peace Winter Holiday Market. So that will be coming up. But if you know people who could be invited to do arts and crafts or display theirs and be part of that, and we're having baskets that we need to spread the word and say, this is a great opportunity to get a great deal on holiday gifts for family members and friends. And Barbara, that was Kathy and Tim, and Barbara and Monique had the idea of meditative walk. So we have a path here, and it might be a group that would love to be grounded, not be bombarded by all the political shenanigans and frustrations and stressors. And so maybe you would be willing to be part of a meditative walk where you could find others who want to reduce their anxiety and their stress by just being part of a group that likes to be in nature and be a part of that. So write down any thoughts that you have, any ideas, but we want those in the offering plates when we have that in a few minutes. I'm also thinking of how do we connect with kids when they walk by from Heritage High School? Is there any way that we might be Jesus in the neighborhood to kids who might want to have a safe place to hang out or whatever we might come up with? We don't have to change everything, but what is God's dream for us? What is God's idea that we have the resources and the people and the energy that we want to be a part of God's changing us? So will we be willing to be the change that God wants to see in us? Will we allow God to change our name? Amen.